Good evening to all of you, and a warm welcome to another webinar in the series of Meeting an Expert. As Asia Pacific Institute of Information Technology, known as APIT Sri Lanka, we are honored to host this session today with another special VIP guest on board. So, especially in a time where many discussions are held about global challenges and overcoming them with this pandemic that has taken place unexpectedly. So, to start with, let me warmly welcome all our students who are in the platform today, and of course, all the other members who are joining from our partner universities, all the foreign delegates and the diplomats who are joining us from different parts of the world today, and finally, all the other distinguished guests who are in the platform, and the students and all the other learners who are in the platform as well. So, to start off for the day, let me now invite our chairman of APIT Sri Lanka, Mr. Bandula Igodage, to share his wishes and expression. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Kaushali. I think Mr. Supun Weerasinghe no need any introduction for me. I mean, obviously. So, first of all, on behalf of our CEO, Roshan Igodage, and the board of directors, and the student population, the staff, and everyone, I must say it's a privilege to welcome you and also say big thank you for your presence today in spite of busy schedule. It's a great inspiration for all our student population. And as you all know, especially Supun, you know that APIT known for a quality education, but it is on the academic excellence. People think that it is academic excellence is good enough, but what we believe strongly is not only the education will complete if you get in the other surrounding aspects, extracurricular activities, and good to know about the world. And that is the whole intention of having this one in our mind, and a great initiative done by Dr. Rohan Tatukarala. And today, people like you, this is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 58th opinion leader who is appearing for the benefit of APIT, the students. If I may recall, during my childhood also, we didn't have that much of a fantasy or opportunity to interact with people like you all. We are giving that opportunity to our student population to get direct intervention, interaction with you, and get the maximum out of you for them to enhance their knowledge and to develop their skills when they are passing out and from the APIT. So that is the whole objective actually initiated by Dr. Rohanta. So without further ado, I must say big thank you for you, Supun. Heading as the big corporate. You are here, but we believe all together. What is our next step? Our next step is to, our age, our journey is to give something for the society, which I believe you are doing it very happily for the benefit of the younger generation. So I think that is the purpose of living in this world for us, basically. So thank you for being with us, Supun, and I request all my students, population, and also the viewers to get the maximum out of Supun for you to enhance your knowledge. Thank you very much, sir. Once again, over to you, Dr. Rohant and Kaushali. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And I think it's actually an honor for us to have such a very distinguished personality addressing us. We have Supun Weerasinghe, Group Chief Executive and member of the Board of Dialogue Axiata since January 2017. Mr. Weerasinghe commenced his career in telecommunications at Dialogue Axiata in 1999 and held multiple roles such as Head of Strategy and CEO of the mobile business before being appointed as Group Chief Operating Officer at Dialogue Axiata in 2010. In 2013, he was seconded to the Axiata Group Berhad in Malaysia as its Group Chief Strategy Officer. At Axiata, he also served as the Head of Network Transformation, Strategic Business Unit, under which he led the Group Technology, Career Collaboration, and the Axiata Intelligence Unit. From January 2014 to October 2016, he functioned as the CEO and the Managing Director of Robi Axiata Limited, Bangladesh, the second largest mobile network provider in Bangladesh. Mr. Weerasinghe serves on several boards and subsidiaries and associate companies of Dialog as well as UNGC Network Sri Lanka. Mr. Weerasinghe is a fellow member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, UK, holds a Bachelor of Science in Accountancy and Financial Management from the University of Sri Jawadharpur, Sri Lanka, and also holds an MBA from the University of Western Sydney, Australia, and is an alumnus of Harvard Business School. Over to you, sir. Supun Weerasinghe, Group Chief Executive, Non-Independent Executive Director.
Thank you, Rohanta. Thank you, Mr. Godege, for that introduction and also for the welcome. And thank you for having me, Rohanta, to share my experiences with the MBA students and the invitees. It's indeed a great honor and a privilege. I'll quickly run through the some of the key highlights of what we see evolving, and then probably we can go into Q&A. So maybe I'll quickly rush through these slides. Nothing rocket science. The stuff that I'm going to tell you is nothing rocket science, but it proves a hypothesis that we need to acknowledge and start working on, and ideally come out of denial saying that we are going to go back to the previous way of working. So if you can see my slides, right, Rohan?
See, Supun, thank you.
Yeah, so what we are seeing is that globally the various incidents, various crises has led to lasting changes, be it 9/11, be it World War, or the epidemics like the SARS. And those changes doesn't go away, it will remain in the world. And then same with the COVID pandemic. In terms of what was relevant before COVID to what is relevant today, largely data, analytics, 5G, good connectivity, stuff like telemedicine, delivery, AI, machine learning, those are the new topics that are becoming very, very relevant. And it's very important to note that these tech topics, largely driven by COVID, are transforming every sector, every industry, using technology, analytics, AI. And then it is not only tech industry that is getting transformed, all the industries for survival, for growth, in the new environment, it is important to adopt technology. And the digital consumer is also rising, and the needs of the digital consumer was there even before. Consumers looking at consuming from products and services to moving to experiences. They wanted hyper-personalization. It was not that same black old car that they wanted. They wanted that personalized experiences, and that's was the norm. They wanted to move from owning stuff to having just access, maybe your vehicle, maybe Airbnb for holidaying, but nothing to own, but to consume and access. And then what we are also seeing is that from lockdowns to the new normal, the consumption patterns have changed. Most of you might be joining from your homes, and then working from home, studying from home is becoming a new normal. So with all this, what we are seeing is that the adoption of digital has accelerated. As per McKinsey's data, before the pandemic and after pandemic, or after the surges end, in most situations, the levels of digital adoption has remained. It has come down a bit, but it has remained almost same levels. And it has grown faster in the developing world, be it India, Brazil, China, faster adoption of digital platforms. And it has happened across all sectors, not only one sector. So be it entertainment, utilities, telco, all sectors have seen a massive digital adoption. And before the COVID pandemic also, the companies who didn't adopt digital was fading away very fast. It could be Blockbuster going away because of Netflix. It could be Nokia going away because not adopting to smartphones and Android soon enough. And that trend was happening. And what we are seeing is that pandemic is accelerating all that. So we need to look at how do we bring digital transformation into the picture to make most of it. And digital transformation is about creating value and capturing value. Simply creating value without thinking through on how do you capture value is again useless because it's not sustainable. Once you create value, you need to find a way to capture value. So if I look at our services, we would provide content services, but if we don't have a sustainable business model either to charge consumers in an affordable manner, then it's not viable. Say, look, take example of Uber. Uber creates value to its customers by bringing all the merchants together. But how does Uber capture value? They capture value through the merchants that they bring in by charging a service fee. So business model largely looks at value creation and value capture. And your operating model looks at scope, scale, and how you do learning in the organization. So these are two very important pieces that you need to keep in mind and reflect in my business. How do I create value? How do I capture value? And what is my operating model? And then there is a way to start measuring how digital you are. One part of this measurement is to look at how digital you are in the front end. When you are serving customers, when you are marketing to customers, when you are doing customer support, sales, how digital are you? The other part of it is in the back end. How digital are you in terms of your operations? Is your operations automated end to end? Is your operations real time? Not only automating part of the operation will help deliver excellent experience to the customer. You need to have end-to-end automation and need to get to then real-time operations because customer is demanding that. If you consume something on Uber, if you say that no, I didn't consume this, or I didn't get my order, you can ask for the refund and the refund will come immediately. So those platforms and the consumers are in those platforms are used to that way of working, and we, coming from the traditional environment, cannot use the standard or a legacy way of handling back office operations. So important thing is to measure, understand where you are, look at what are the gaps and start working on those. In terms of who is best poised to take advantage of this new normal and adoption of consumer, largely it is tech industry is well poised to take advantage of it. Then sectors like consumer is very consumer goods is well poised because they have started their journey going into e-commerce much earlier. And it doesn't mean that some industries, none of the industries are ready or need to be going to digital. Everyone needs to go. Some are in different stages. So those who are at an early stage needs to accelerate their journey. So again, in terms of maturing in this journey, it's about agile governance. How do you govern that journey? Leadership commitment from the top, and then setting the tone, driving top down is very important. Close monitoring. It's not just lip service telling or launching a program. Close monitoring daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. That's really important, and not just any plan, setting specific milestones, looking at the outcomes and measuring the outcomes against your plans. Then integrated strategy. Talent plays a very big role. So all of you need to look at, do we have enough talent? Do we have the right skills? How do we upskill our resource pool so that they can thrive in the new normal? And then modular tech platforms. So key is to begin with a strong sense of purpose, focus on outcomes, technology and talent. So outcomes plays a very big role because otherwise if you start on a big transformation saying we are going to do digital transformation without specific outcome targets, then you will not get you will not be successful. Similarly, you need to not only focus on having a program, but also focus significantly on people, which we tend to not take seriously because people make the biggest difference. Giving them the digital skills, identifying and the tools for them to thrive, and then creating the organization in a layered manner. Lesser layers, more matrix would help to make the most of in a digital transformation. In terms of tech, it's about data and artificial intelligence and modular technology. Those are the days that we would have large ERP platforms covering the entire organization. Increasingly, it is now modular so that you don't need to wait for years and years to get benefits of a digital transformation. So this model is from BCG. Again, they are looking at the specific areas where you can focus and bring specific outcomes through digital transformation. And they are also saying digital first. Is your products digital first? Is your organization digital first? Allocate 15% of your staff onto digital so that you can drive it as a serious program and not just another one-off transformation exercise. Incumbents who are moving, the larger players who are moving, already are getting a lot of competition from startups, but they have the biggest chance of success if they move fast, because they have the consumer with them, they have the brand with them, and they have the scale. So the scale, brand, consumer, and all those three things the startups have. In addition, the incumbents have capital. So they have the highest chance of success to make in this new normal if you move fast. But if you are in denial, saying that no, this change is not going to last, it will go back to the previous way of working, or the startups will not have a long runway, then you are wrong. Before you know, the startups will gain scale and you will be under pressure, and the consumer will move to the digital service providers. And moving to agile is also very important. Rather than waiting to consume everything, produce everything at the end, you can start smaller, modular, and then you will see that you are delivering outcomes. We call it shippable products. Every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, rather than waiting for every 6 months or 1 year to release a product or a service. Then artificial intelligence, data analytics plays a very big role. You need to look at how do you bring all your data in the organization into one data lake, because once you digitize, you have a lot of real-time data, and that data needs to be brought in together so that you can see insights, and using those insights, then you can do projections, you can plan for future, and also you can see trends which otherwise not visible. But you need to bring in artificial intelligence if you are to really make use of the digitization. Otherwise, it will improve the processes, it will give faster delivery, faster experience, but happier customers. But in terms of superior business results and delivering sustainable long-term growth, artificial intelligence plays a big role, because you can then scale your operation much faster. You can scale the operation much faster than simply relying on the traditional ways of scaling. I'll just touch on our journey in terms of what we have done. We have been going through this journey. We accelerated from around 2016-17. We have a framework. I think this came out in Dialogue annual report as well. In terms of looking at our customer experience side of it, sales and marketing, enterprise marketing of products, then process simplification. Everything starts with simplifying your processes, and then only you should digitize. No point simply bringing digitization and covering everything with a digital layer when you have so much of complexity at the bottom. So it's very, very important to challenge and look at before you go and digitize. And then IT, analytics, and network, those are also very important areas. In terms of results that we were able to deliver, we have delivered financial results that supports the business to reinvest on digitization, and also just prove that this is the way to go in terms of growth and business sustainability. This current pandemic itself, I think what we saw is that traffic growth in the network was enormous. It took 15 years for us to get to first 100 gigs of simultaneous consumption in the network, which happened only in 2017. The last 200 gigs, then the last 100 gigs happened in 49 days in 2015 June. And since then, again, another 100 gigs have grown. So we are seeing exponential growth, and that is, we are able to deliver that while we note that there are constraints, is because we have been able to move fast into agile and bring in digital adoption. So what we need to keep in mind is that while the virus has interrupted, it has accelerated or reversed long-standing consumer and business habits. And these changes are likely to persist. They won't go back, they will persist. But we need to have tangible action to sustain the rebound. The consumer changes, the business model changes during the pandemic will stick. But we need to make sure that we have specific planned actions to ensure that the rebound is not uneven, because otherwise the traditional players will start struggling and the newcomers, the digital players, will start winning in the new normal. So to succeed in the digital wave, you need to decouple digital transformation from core system transformation. If you're implementing ERP and stuff, let that go, but you need to look at how do you bring modular changes and maybe in sales organization, sales method, service, support, rather than having one big system. Then liberating data from core systems, making the ownership of data within the business and not within IT, so that you can make use of data, slice, dice to drive business. Building new capabilities is very important because at the end, it's the people that will make that difference, people who will drive the transformation. So we have to invest on people. You have to make sure individually all of you remain up to date, both in digital transformation area, analytics, artificial intelligence, and all the new evolutions that are taking place. In fact, they are saying now it's not digital transformation, it's about the virtual world. Facebook changed their branding or the company name to Meta. Meta is about metaverse, which they call beyond universe, because the world is going to be virtual. Just like this meeting is virtual, the brands will go virtual, and the successful brands will be those who can play and win in the metaverse, not simply even digital world. So that's the speed at which things are changing, and it's very, very important to build new capabilities. Then look at agile, iterative deployment methods rather than just waiting for one large project or one large outcome. Then focus on speed to value. Look at delivering things faster rather than saying I will improve further and give me another 2 weeks, another 2 months, and I'll deliver better value. It's always the speed that matters most. All the business success is dependent on speed. Everything else follows speed. So we need to make sure the business is geared to progress with speed, and then the value creations will follow, and speed becomes a central core part of the transformation theme. So as business leaders, it's very important to look at your business model and then
I'm not sure I understand.
Gear the business so that it can sustain into the future. Then identify partners, because in the digital world, it's not everything that you have to build on your own. You have to collaborate, you have to bring expertise from everywhere else and create winning combinations. And then you need to make that culture shift. What you did yesterday is not going to be right tomorrow or today, and then getting everyone to accept it and change. Then building people is very, very important. And then the other big area is cybersecurity, data security, data protection, because once you move everything to digital, you are vulnerable in the digital world. So you have to protect against those attacks. So with that, I will end now, Rohanta, and maybe we can pass on to Q&A.
Thank you very much, Supun. It was a very simple, clear message that actually went out. Fantastic learning for me personally. I'm sure everybody would have understood where the game is now. Just a few thoughts. You worked in Bangladesh, for a stint from Dialogue itself, and that economy is like kind of booming. We are told that they have a foreign exchange reserve of almost 7 billion as we speak. From the telecom space, what kind of key pickups can Sri Lanka have from Bangladesh?
Yeah, I think Bangladesh economy, if my sense of it working there from 2014 to 16, their fiscal discipline is very good. And they are very focused on their fiscal targets and also they are very focused on growing their exports, growing the manufacturing base. Apparel was the first option because it gives employment, especially with a country with a lower literacy rate. But they were very focused, and I think what we need to recognize is that focus is very, very important in anything in life. Probably one thing important is discipline. The other thing that is very important is focus. Because if you are not focused, be it in your work, be it as a country, be it as an organization, then you will be going all over the place without being able to deliver sustainable results. So Bangladesh was very focused on their exports and manufacturing base. When it comes to telco, it's a large country, 200 million people, but 2 times larger than Sri Lanka in terms of land mass, 10 times more population. So it's ideal for a telco industry because then it gives so much of opportunity to monetize your investments. In Sri Lanka, there is so much of rural consumers, and it's tougher. But I think I would commend the Sri Lankan regulators and the Sri Lankan government, how they have been very pragmatic in bringing foreign investments, supporting foreign investors, liberalizing the Sri Lanka telecommunication industry way back in late 90s, privatizing Sri Lanka Telecom. That has really helped for the industry to move forward, attract a lot of foreign investments. So to date, we enjoy duty-free imports for capital infrastructure, the network infrastructure, because it has been proven that good connectivity, good broadband can accelerate GDP growth in a country. So Sri Lankan government has recognized that and facilitated. Similarly, access to scarce resources like frequencies has been made available because I think Sri Lanka recognizes that the market is small and then it's a challenging market compared to a market like Bangladesh. I think what we need to now in this coming budget or the budget that was announced recently also speaks about spectrum auctions. That's one area that we didn't have much transparency in Sri Lanka. Last time the auction was in 2014 for 4G. After that, there wasn't any auction. So the government taking a firm stand on spectrum auction is very important. Then I think spectrum allocations, because for telco industry, spectrum is kind of the most important asset or frequency. So in the most important or the prime frequency band for broadband is in 700 megahertz. In Sri Lanka, it is being used for UHF television channels. So ideally, if we can give that spectrum for stuff now 4G is over, maybe for 5G, then you can have wider broadband coverage because lower bands give wider coverage, deep indoor coverage, and then that will help broadband and move analog television to the digital television era. So that's one area that we need to do. I think India had done that well. But relative to Bangladesh, I would commend the Sri Lankan government and the regulators over the last 20 years. I've been in the industry for 20 years plus, and Sri Lanka has adopted that pragmatic approach. And I wish that there are more such restructuring like Sri Lanka Telecom that happens in other state-owned enterprises. I think you're on mute, Rohan.
There is a very interesting question coming in his Guyan from, he's a student on the MBA program, Staffordshire University. He's saying, why is it that I have regular call drops if Sri Lanka's technology is strong?
Yeah, so call drops is, I think, in all countries there are call drops. There are benchmarks that we measure. So in our case, we measure a benchmark on call drops, which is the call drop rate is less than 1%. And then we also look at how many drops per 1,000 calls on an individual basis. So just like any other KPI, it's in cellular, you can't have 100% call connectivity because you are going through a wireless medium and there is no universal connectivity. So call drops are a natural part of cellular. What we work towards is minimizing that. So as I said, Sri Lanka has a larger geographic terrain compared to Bangladesh, and it has only a smaller 20 million population compared to a 200 million population. So as a result, the amount of investments that are needed, while we do that, the price per GB or price that consumer pays is lower than Bangladesh. The market is smaller, country is relatively bigger. So if you look at how many people per square kilometer, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh has 5 times more people per square kilometer. And rates are, Sri Lanka is cheaper. Sri Lanka is the third cheapest in the world for data rates. So then as a result, we don't have enough returns to go into everywhere in the country in terms of deploying. There are multiple reasons. So that's one part of it. Then the other thing is, in Sri Lanka, the deployment of sites are highly regulated. In Bangladesh, while I was there, within 1 year, we deployed 10,000 sites. But in Sri Lanka, we are struggling to, even this year, we want to do 600 sites. Even that, like I meet every week the team and look at progress and see how we are progressing. I had to, beginning of October, go to Jaffna and meet the Jaffna Municipal Council and say, please approve us to put these sites because in Jaffna, it's so bad the coverage compared to Colombo. And then they heard us and then gave approval. Because Sri Lanka has about 7 approvals before putting up a site. In Bangladesh, you don't need to get approval. You just can install and tell the regulator, I put in this site. So the good thing is that because Sri Lanka terrain is different, there are earth slips and a lot of challenges. And Sri Lanka is also concerned about health aspects, environment aspects, unlike Bangladesh or India. So network rollout is really, really challenging in Sri Lanka. And I wouldn't complain because those are for right reasons. Probably in some areas we can fast track, but in general, that's issue. So as service providers, what we are looking at is how can we further improve. So shutting down the 3G network, moving everyone to 4G, getting users to move from 3G voice or 2G voice to 4G voice, because 4G voice is like your WhatsApp call. Then even if there's a small degradation in connectivity, the call will not drop, call will continue, and there will be a small break in voice, but call will not completely drop. So voice over LTE is again the way to go. So we have to move the customer to new technology. We have to do more network investments. In cities like Colombo, we are putting lamp poles. So far, we have done about 500 lamp posts to improve connectivity because big towers are not allowed in the larger cities. And doing more of investments and frequency deployments to cover this. But there's no universal solution for call drops anywhere in the world. And I think that's what even any regulator will look at our benchmarks, which we report and work with the regulator and the other partners.
Supun, I mean, you're handling one of the most powerful brands in the country. It's worth about 50 billion rupees. What are the key challenges you see from a marketing view looking at 2022?
Yeah, I think challenges. One is the potential increase in inflation and consumer affordability. Consumer affordability will get constrained, their spending power will get constrained. Because most of our customers spend less than $2 a month, be it on mobile, be it on TV, be it on broadband. They spend less than $2 a month. $2 is just maybe 400 rupees. And then when they are pressed for cash, wallet share, they have to prioritize their primary needs, could be food or essential stuff like education. So that is a challenge. We see pressure coming from that. Then the access to foreign currency is another challenge because our imports are in dollars. This year, so far we have invested 25 billion, 24 billion plus for the first 9 months, which is 2 times of our last year profit, only in first 9 months. And next year again, but say if we invest $150 million, the amount of stuff that we can buy $150 million is 30 billion. Next year it's going to be lesser. So we have more capital pressure to make sure that we are able to keep up the network investments. Those are the 2 prime macro concerns are the biggest challenge, and the consumer pressure that the consumer is going to go through is the biggest pressure point that we see going into 2022.
You graduated from 3J. I mean, it's one of the best universities right now in Sri Lanka for management and commerce. I mean, did you ever think of at that time when you were, going to university that, you will be working for Dialogue? I mean, what made you select Dialogue as a career?
Yeah, I think when I did my A-levels, Dialogue never existed. Dialogue was founded in 95. I did A-levels in 94. So it was a company that came to being after I did my A-levels also. Then in my degree, I was actually trying to get a scholarship and go to the US. But for my luck or unluck, I didn't get a scholarship. And my parents couldn't afford to pay and send me to US either. And I was also thinking I have access to university at Sri Jardhanapura, but so I don't want to pay and burden my parents. I'll go to university here. And then so my close friend went to US. I stayed back because he had lots of other extracurricular activities, and he got a scholarship and he went away. I stayed back, and this is kind of the peak of the war at that time. After 2 years, we have to do an internship in the university. We do full-time 2 years, and third and fourth year in our degree is working. So initially I got a job at National Development Bank. Then I did about 4 months in Colombo, then 8 months in Ratnapura branch, setting up the branch, lending to micro enterprises. The last project was about 75 banana cultivation, 75 farmers who cultivate banana. And then, but I was not very happy with the speed at which the banks are moving. And then also it was a bit of a hindrance for me to do my studies. I'd need to come to Jardhanapura for lectures from Ratnapura, was a bit messy. So then there was this ad in the newspaper for a senior executive in corporate planning, and I applied for that. And then after a while, I got selected and moved here. So since then, it has been various challenges come, giving the best shot at everything, and then making sure that we learn from each of these, and then progression. So that's what I always believed in. Whatever challenge you come, you give the best. And then you look at the challenge as an opportunity. The rewards as well as success recognition will come. I didn't really bother about that part because if you start focusing on that, then you don't really put your energy behind what you need to achieve. So that's how it evolved. Nothing planned per se. I think some people say that everything was planned by them, but at least in my case, I didn't plan anything. So because then the interview also, Dr. Hans asked, can you do quality management? And I didn't know anything about quality management, ISO and stuff, but I said, maybe I'll learn that and do, because to see that the guy who they had hired previous week had left immediately within a few days. So they had to get the ISO thing sorted, but it later gave a good experience of the business operations processes, which otherwise you will not get to in corporate planning job. You will be just doing plans without understanding how those are implemented. So when you look back, those things were good things that gave that experience then to run operations. Then when I went to Malaysia also, I was supposed to stay for 3 years. But into 6 months into that assignment, Asiata CEO asked, can you go and do Bangladesh? Then again, Malaysia was a lot more comfortable, nice living, but I thought maybe Bangladesh is a nice experience to go and run an operation there with large scale. Then it gave a different set of challenges. How do you handle a crisis? How do you handle situation? Now this morning we had a massive crisis with Dialog TV. I don't know whether you all knew. From last night, we started losing transmission on Dialog TV. So because we are dependent on a satellite, and then we lost connectivity to the satellite. So that was a massive crisis. By late night, we lost all 6 transponders, all channels. Then we had to troubleshoot with US and Azerbaijan to identify the problem. Then only by early morning we found the problem, then fixing it to make sure that the problem is not in the satellite and here. Because if it was in the satellite, then we have to go and change 1.7 million homes, their dishes, turn it to a different direction, because all the dishes at 1.7 million homes are aligned to the satellite that we have. But I think the teams working together, by around 2 o'clock, we got the services back on air today. And it was a massive crisis, because imagine everyone is going to lose TV, and evening they come and switch on the TV is not there. But how do you handle that kind of a crisis? Not to panic. Those learnings I had from Bangladesh, I think here the team is awesome. So that I think these kind of situations really help to grow as a leader.
So, what advice would you give, Supun, to a youngster, studying for the master's program, and the guy gets up in the morning, and all he sees is a lot of issues in the environment, from one to another, all you see is poor governance, coming out. I mean, it's sometimes very demotivating. Even if you look at yesterday, there was a decision on the fertilizer, but then what happened was that how it was communicated and how it was executed and people removed, it's quite disheartening for a youngster. It's not the logic of the question, the decision that has been taken, but what advice would you give? I know it's very difficult. What advice could you give a youngster studying for a master's, wanting to go your career route, they're prepared to go work in difficult markets like in Ratnapura, going to Bangladesh. It's not easy. But what advice would you give a youngster, Supun?
Yeah, I think first, it's an opportunity. In every challenge, there's an opportunity. Because when everyone starts leaving the country, there are so many people we will need to run Sri Lankan companies. So maybe because some people left, I got this job to run. So don't know. So I think that is important. We need talent to run Sri Lankan companies, and Sri Lanka has world-class companies. Sri Lanka has world-class companies. Anywhere in the world where you think you are working in a very good company in Australia or UK or US, you have those companies in Sri Lanka, and you can learn, you can get exposed to, apply your knowledge and grow. There are serious talent development programs where they will develop you and grow you. So I was sent from, sponsored by Dialogue and Asiata, to send to Harvard that time in 2012. And we even during the pandemic time, we sponsored about 100 of the group staff to do a 3-month program at Harvard, which ended early this year. So there are companies who will invest on you, and we need good talent for the country. Then how do you not get demoralized and demotivated seeing the environment or the risk? So there I will look at what can be controlled, what is my circle of influence, and how do you do your best within that circle of influence without getting disheartened by what's going on. Because it's all about focus. That's what I said. Without losing focus, you have a mission, either to deliver results, grow your business, grow as a leader. All that requires focus. Everything else, what is going around, is noise. And then you can decide whether you want to tune to that noise or you need to focus on what you have to achieve. Then third aspect is that if we do a little bit as individuals, then our organizations will be better. And then you will also have opportunity to serve your community. And through that, you can serve the country, help the country. But if all of us starts running away, or if all of us start just talking about it, but not doing our little part, then we will not help the cause. So that's how I look at it. I also sit in National Sports Council. I was invited to join the National Sports Council, and I wasn't into sports. Maybe I did little bit of chess at school, at university, but because maybe we are doing lots of sports sponsorships and supporting sports, and I was invited more to help with the governance of sports. So I could have said, no, I don't want to get involved in that assignment, because as corporate individuals, we are not allowed to participate or take part in any of the other commercial entities. But because it was helping the country, I agreed to join. And then there, what we are looking at is setting up a proper governance process. We looked at where do we spend our budgets on sports, to see 94% of the money spent on building stadiums or swimming pools or various construction stuff. Less than 5% is spent on people. Whereas countries like India, Australia is spending minimum 20, 30, 40% on people. Developing talent, having good coaches, high performance programs, so that they can make use of the platforms that they create, infrastructure. Because no point having good schools if you don't have good teachers. So it's about, so then the government supported that plan of moving 10-20% of the budget on people, setting about, it's not easy. You can't, they say that Paris was not, Rome was not built in a day. You need time, you need to take time, you need to move. Sometimes you will lose patience, but you can make that change happen. Not to get disheartened, not to lose focus, and work within your circle of influence. Take this challenge, take this crisis as an opportunity. Because in a crisis, while everyone else can't see through the unclear or the maze, that I could say, if you can see clarity in that unclear situation, then you will be able to surpass others and achieve success. In a cloudy environment, and we are walking through, if you can try to find clarity step by step, maintain focus, then you will be able to achieve success, because everyone else is getting confused now and they are not seeing the path forward. If the path was clearer to everyone, then you are going to have a lot more competition.
Fantastic.
So that's how I look at it.
Fantastic, Supun. I mean, I think that gives a lot of direction to a youngster, because as you know, there are a lot of issues and challenges, but you're right. I mean, if the guy can be very focused when you know that things are very murky, that we always see the real winners are the people who focus and just go towards what they had already uh, planned for, and they don't get upset, they don't get distracted. I totally with you, and you're right. I mean, even when I was invited to the National Olympic Committee, many people said, "Brother, don't take it. It's you had enough experience in the government and all that." But then, we got to top shuttlers, sponsorships, and we spent a lot of money on training their mind first.
Correct.
They went through psychoanalysis training, where they want to be, and then only we started telling them go and do skill training. So we first focused on the mind and then went to the skill. So I mean, well, just moving to brands, Supun. Uh, you have picked up Yohani for brand dialogue. Uh, how, how, how is it to manage such a celebrity? I think when you all launched that song, I think within 6 hours or something, it touched 100 million or something like that. So. Uh, how do you manage a person who is having a sponsorship and an endorsement with Samsung, and of course now with Dialog? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think we had the sponsorship before she became a celebrity. So in somewhere around 2018 or 2019, we looked at our brand ambassadors and found that we were lacking the youth element in our brand ambassadors. Our brand grew with the likes of Bati and Santosh. Then we had Kumar Sangakkara as a brand. We have Kumar as a brand ambassador, but we were lacking that youth element. And then we brought in at that time, we brought in Umaria, we brought in Sanuka, we brought in KD, Tamil musician. Then also we were adding more and more youth into the brand, and we added Yohani also in that process. So I think the biggest challenge is Dialog being an iconic brand. Everyone who wants mileage will try to attach Dialog, and for good things as well as bad things, have a go at the brand. Because it gets so much of visibility, influence very fast. So in every situation, it's about how do we manage one positive side as well as the negative side. But I think working with all of the brand ambassadors have been great, and they have been always sharing a lot of good insights on how do you improve the relevance, how do you get more closer to people, and then that song that we did, all the brand ambassadors came together passionately because they believed in the cause and they believed in the Sri Lankan team, and they went out of the way to make that a very successful and very memorable one for the team and the country.
So, how was your experience at Harvard? What did you actually learn from Harvard?
Yeah, it's I would say transformational. I did that program in 2012. It was called Advanced Management Program. 2 months residential program. We did about 200 cases. So going into Harvard, I was pure telco person, grown within the country. So if you look at a cricketer, I've been maybe playing all the centuries in Sri Lanka, but haven't seen rest of the world, or haven't gone out of Sri Lankan territory and different sectors. But the 200 plus cases gave a glimpse of all the industries, from retail to manufacturing to banking, financial services, medical, all the industries. We did cover about 30 plus country cases, from Singapore to US to what happened in Saudi. As a case you analyze, and then so it gives that larger picture, macro view that is needed. And then that is one part of it, and the network that came together was quite powerful. But I would say it transformed from being a local individual business leader, but to play in a wider environment. It gives you confidence, because otherwise when you are faced with unknown problem or unknown area, you tend to doubt yourself. Can I overcome this challenge? But having that knowledge, having learning, it really helps. Apart from that, I think stuff like making sure that you develop the team. One thing I used to do is, because we are in a hurry to get things done, we tell things saying you need to do ABC things, and this is the outcome I want to achieve. So I tell what I want to achieve, and I also tell how to achieve. When you do that, because you want to get the result done faster, but when you do that, you are not helping the other person to think, because you are thinking for that person. And every time when you do that, they don't develop that part of thinking. So one very important aspect is that as a leader, you don't need to give solutions all the time. As a leader, your task is to ask the right questions and get them to think, get your team to think, and guide them towards the solution, so that when you are not around, they know how to think. Because the key thing is getting everyone to think, and then they can apply themselves better. I think MBA is also teaching you that. And key is, how do you apply that knowledge to solve a problem? So that is something very, very powerful. I thought that I gathered, because so that you grow the team. And another little piece that I also keep always in mind is going to the balcony, not staying in the dance floor, because on a daily basis we are in the dance floor. We are running the businesses, doing our daily things, and we don't reflect much. It is important to go to the balcony, reflect, look at what you did right, what you did wrong, what are the areas for improvement, and then calibrate your game plan. So on and off, at least once a week, once a month, you need to go to the balcony and do those reflections and adjust your game.
Do you see a huge difference in the way you work, Supun, before the pandemic and now? I mean, is there a major change? I mean, because you guys are already in the IT industry, and working remotely was not the real key thing. I mean, there would have been so many other changes. Is there anything you saw? I mean, the way you work on like tomorrow against like 2 years back?
Yeah, I think we have now accelerated the digitization internally. We use a lot more data analytics now, because even to succeed in the new normal, it was about having analytics to understand which retailers were open, which trade routes were open. We should be able to see remotely, not send a person to discover that the shop was closed. Keeping a track of the offtake at the retail level, and bringing, so that's one example of analytics. But even managing the network, you see stuff, we are getting hammered in social media and think that entire network is so bad. But bringing analytics to see what are the hotspots, what are the areas where the experience is going down, what are the things that you need to prioritize and fix faster. So analytics, we now call it, we have now activated a program to deploy AI factory, artificial intelligence factory. Basically run artificial intelligence at scale, not do pilots or experiments, but at scale running operations, be it predicting a fault, be it promoting a product to a customer, or helping solve a customer problem. So that piece has really accelerated, and we believe that it's a way to go if you have to survive in the next new normal.
There's an interesting question coming from guy called Didak. He's based in UAE, but he's studying on the MBA program online. So he says, I mean, having worked in Sri Lanka, having worked overseas, and now heading one of the top companies in Sri Lanka, where do you go from here in your career?
I also haven't thought about it. I think I've always looked at, especially now, look at the impact I could create with my actions and title or the role that I have. So it's about creating that impact, be it when kids didn't have access to education, working with the Ministry of Education, opening 10 channels free of charge, to helping health sector. Our COVID Care 1390 platform, which we did with Ministry of Health, has served now 110,000 people who got COVID, 20% of the public, and only one fatality in that 110,000 people that we took care of. So those kind of massive platforms that we could create was because of access to technology and access to partners that we have that we can bring together. So I take a lot of satisfaction from that. We can make a meaningful impact on people's lives. The other day I was talking to staff, and one staff said that his father's friend came and said that thanks to Dialogue, our lives were saved today, because we have this service called Sairu for day boat fishermen. We give alerts with the government based on bad weather, and we say don't go fishing, and we give this service free of charge. Anyone can register and they get alert depending on the area that they live, whether it's in south or east or north. So there are more than 200,000 fishermen who are subscribed for this service. So that is a life-saving product for that person. And those things we can do because of having access to technology team, as well as a good shareholder as Asiata. They are also very like-minded, being with the company and country. So that's why I think I enjoy doing this role. Haven't really thought, but it's tough. It's tiring, actually. It's not easy. So must start thinking about what next very soon.
So what advice would you give young Supun, 21 years old, just venturing out, maybe after the degree? What advice? I mean, what would you do different?
I wouldn't do much different, but I think now my son is actually 20 plus. He'll be 21 next year. So I think nowadays I see lots of young talent wanting to chase money over the exposure and learning opportunities. I was talking to him and he was saying one of his seniors, he gets $250,000 a year, but he works only 4 hours. So then his other friends are saying, your job is not making any impact, you are not learning, growing, money is not everything. So early part of the career, money is not everything, exposure is what is needed. You need to ask yourself the question, are we growing? Am I growing? Am I learning something? And if not, then you need to look at how to bridge that. If you start chasing money, then you will regret later because you will not grow. You will not take on challenges. You will be just chasing money, and that will not help your development journey. Then to take up every challenge as an opportunity, grow, continue to learn, don't be in denial. All of us have lots of gaps. Be always open to change. That will help you to fix your gaps, course correct. Because asking for feedback is very, very important. People don't ask for feedback, and in Sri Lanka, normally we don't give feedback. So you should go and ask for feedback at least once a month, 3 months, and then see how you can improve your contribution. I think those are few things apart from discipline. Discipline matters a lot. Hard work matters a lot. There is no shortcut. You have to put your hard yards, and that is very, very fundamental. And having discipline, work ethic, all that, then success will come. If you give those inputs as output, success will come. Success is not something that you can plan and control. In exams, you can plan and control your success, exam success. But in life or in career, you can't plan and you can plan your input. You can manage your input. But if you focus on those areas, then success will come.
Supun, do you, final question, actually, thank you so much for spending so much time on a set of youngsters. Do you have a coach? And now everybody says in different ways that you need to have a coach. So do you have one, and how does it benefit if you do have one?
I have had formal coaches per se. When I was transitioning to a CEO in Bangladesh, I had a coach. Then I had some mentorships from one of our board members. But I think good to always have a coach or a mentor who you can go to and get guidance and have a plan. It's also important to agree on a plan and follow through that plan with the coach. I get a lot of guidance from Dr. Hans, and then since he's my supervisor and he has seen me grow through the years, but also get a lot of input from my team and even staff subordinates and the board. So I think key part of it is to go and ask for feedback. If you start asking for feedback, asking how did I do, how can I improve further, what are the areas that I think you think you should. So then if you collect everything, reflect and do a plan, then you can progress. But I think having a coach, having a mentor is always good. Having a sounding board is always good. And then it's something that you can rely, trust sincerely for right good guidance.
Thank you very much, Supun, for dedicating over an hour for this discussion, and it's been fantastic. We don't hear much about you. You're always very, what shall I say, private in the way you deal. But thank you so much for consenting to speak to the MBA students, and it's really nice to see a leader of your repute who has. I can only pick up one word which said, yes, it's a little bit murky, but the real leaders are the people who stay focused to where they're going, and maybe the competition is lesser now if people are are moving out. So I think that's a very good pick up, and that's I think the key lesson for today. Outstanding personality, university, got into a top organization, moved overseas, done stints overseas, and now, of course, heading Group CEO, Dialogue, Supun Weerasinghe. Over to you, Kaushali. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. And thank you very much, Mr. Supun. Indeed, there are two words, just like Dr. Rohantha was listening as I listened to you. What I pick up today is on behalf of the youth, there's a lot more that you can get than just getting your money. And when you have that opportunity, go have that challenge, enjoy that challenge. I think that's a very powerful message for all our youth, all our students who are on board with us today. So look for other things than just money as well, and discipline, and of course, feedback. So With that, I would really like to thank on behalf of Apit family for your time and everyone who is on the audience today. A wonderful message and another session ending today in this particular series. So we are finishing it up for today, and we will meet back again in another week's time. Until then, do take care and good night from Sri Lanka.